National Insurance Clearinghouse, the marketing arm of Brokers Alliance, presents a Bravo video event, the Business Insurance Zone, dedicated to financial professionals who use insurance in their practice.
On today's show, Charitable Giving 2011 with CPA Ken Davis.
And now the host of the Business Insurance Zone, the whiz of the biz, insurance columnist Steve Savant.
Well, welcome everyone to the Business Insurance Zone. We're broadcasting live to a nationwide network of financial advisors and professionals right here in Fountain Hills, Arizona, home of America's largest fountain. And of course, it's holiday here at Brokers Alliance. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever you're into. I salute your happy holiday. And here's the reason why I like that. I want you to know that our carriers have been sending gifts to Steve Savant. I'm totally on that. Not only that, but they've also been sending food. I'm really in there. But I want to say I wear an XL, just in case, little heads up. I wear an XL. Keep those polo shirts coming in, because I love it at the end of the year. People are just giving away their memorabilia. All these carriers got cool stuff.
Oh,
right?
You're so mercenary.
It is. We're mercenary here at the Business Insurance Zone, and I'm taking it. And I want to introduce day 3. Hey, listen, if you haven't been here for the first 2 days, you're probably sitting there going, I didn't even know what tax fax was. This is Ken. This is my special guest, Ken Davis. Ken, welcome to the show.
Hey, Stephen.
I've known Ken for 20 whatever years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been long and it's been brutal. No.
Yeah, from my standpoint,
yeah,
yes.
I've really had to torture him. Ken is a CLU, ChFC, CFP, and CPA. And I got to say, Ken, we've been talking about, and perfect for the season, charitable giving at the end of the year. But actually, what we're talking about, this show won't be quarantined to just end of the year. We'll have it out in our archive section, because really what we're talking about can be done all year long.
Well, in particular, our last segment, the charitable gift annuities, really has nothing to do with year-end so much as it does an ongoing income for the donors.
Yeah, so heads up, if you're looking for this, remember to go out to our site. We'll have the 5 video series of these shows all this week. We'll have a whole brief. Can show that 2010, what is that, the 2010 study of high net worth philanthropy. You'll want to be able to get this. We're going to have that all out there for you to download, including our own charitable giving brief, which has all the tactics and strategies and a lot of the things that Ken and I can't get on the air, just too much, right? I mean, just stuff into our time. But today we're going to touch on some things, and we're going to try to do this. This is a big fear. Now we kind of talk about the first 2 days are kind of like charitable giving with greed, which sounds like a conflict of interest or counterintuitive. Today we're going to talk about something on the reverse, the big fear. Now, we touched on it a little Monday, Tuesday, but until you overcome this, you're not going to get this sale.
Oh, that's right.
And let's talk about it, because we're talking about overcoming client fears in regards to running out of money. And this is what holds them back from gifting. So, Ken, we've learned, I mean, think about it. We're living in the age, well, maybe not the age of Methuselah, but the Guinness Book of World Records died, right, a couple years back at 121. That girl from France died at 121. I mean, the U.S. set record was female also at 119, and the top 20 people that have lived the longest, according to the Guinness Book of World, by the way, they're all women. No surprise there, right? They're all women, but that's the thing that we're looking at now. I just want to give a heads up, because this is really true. We have carriers now that are illustrating to age 131 on proposals.
Oh my.
Think about what I just said. The maturity dates of contracts are all the way out to 121, and I have to give you another heads up. There are 3 carriers in the United States now that don't use numbers anymore. It just says the life of the insured. I mean, is that bizarre? And I've heard that they're thinking about actually doing an issue age contract. Right now, you can get second to die. This shows you how far out. So these fares are legitimate. Second to die, we actually issue it at age 94.
Oh my.
Think about that. That's not the maturity date. Ken,
that's the issue date.
That's the issue date. And I heard a rumor, and I'm not going to say who this is just in case it turns out to be wrong. I hear that there's going to be a carrier who's going to issue age 95, male, female, standard across the board on second to die. I'm telling you, when I came in this business 30 years ago, I mean, 95 was the maturity date.
Yeah.
So when we talk about clients having fear, I mean, the heads up, the insurance carriers are already out there in these numbers. We talk about live long and prosper. We are out there. I mean, we're out there. So Ken, talk about it, because this is a phobia, a real fear. And by the way, it's legit now. I just gave you some actuarial issues here.
Yep. Well, basically, think about people during their cycle of life. They get to retirement. They're no longer bringing in income. They're no longer working. They're totally dependent on their assets. And so the old farmer's analogy of not using your seed corn, well, every farmer knows that you can only eat your harvest, and you have to leave the seed left to plant the crop for next year, right? Well, investments in CDs, money markets, bonds, stocks, whatever the clients have, that's their seed corn. And so they've learned to hang on to the core, the corpus, and to give away their earnings. Well, gosh, now we have CDs and money market funds for less than 0.5%. We all know that what's been happening on the stock market. So there's a lot of fear about volatile markets. There's fear about living too long and running out of money. And what's amazing to me sometimes is we sit there and almost laugh, and we have to be serious. But clients get $20 million, and they're living off $100,000, $200,000 a year, and they're afraid they're going to run out of money. Well, that just isn't going to happen. Okay, even in the worst of circumstances. So our role as financial advisors in helping people give, one of the first things we do is we take a look at their money and do what we do best is, we do those financial projections. We look at their retirement income, use real conservative rates of return, conservative inflation rates, where you have higher rates than you think you're going to have, and you show the client that if you take this block of money and set it aside and do this takes care of your income for the rest of your life. And then we're going to set aside some money for, things that aren't paid by, Medicare, and put $500,000 or $1 million in a CD somewhere just in case. And then what drops out is frequently a whole bunch of extra money. And what do you do with it? Do you want to give it to your kids? Do you want to give it to the charity, or do you want to give it to the Internal Revenue Service?
I'm pretty sure that the Internal Revenue Service is not only last on everybody's list, but they want to run out of money before the IRS can even come in there and get it.
And we said that in the prior segments, but let's make very clear to our listeners, what we're doing with planned charitable giving is maximizing the use of tax laws, maximizing the use of leverage of life insurance and trusts, and helping people give more to charities, or to give a whole bunch to charities and take the sting out of it. You give $100,000 and maybe it costs you really 30 or something like that.
Right. I love this because we're really, actually, what you just said is really what planning's all about. We're homogenizing the tax code, the leverage of insurance, and using trust because of the ownership issues to mitigate the taxation issues. So those three in sync, in concert together, can actually deliver some spectacular returns.
Well, and I think, we've talked about me bridging the gap between CPAs and insurance agents, financial planners. We've got this formula. We've got gross income minus expenses for our investments, and then we take that money minus taxes, and what do we have left over is what you can actually live on. And then you could go a step further and take inflation off that, and the net might be 4% of your assets to live on. And we know that generally the gross income may increase by taking more risk, or maybe you lose money. Well, what I like about guaranteed types of products and index products is that maybe I have a lower gross income, okay, but now I've got some tax savings down here. So by the time I work through the formula, maybe lower gross income, but higher after-tax income.
Right. I've noticed that with many of the things, and by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, this would be derelict on my part. All the things I said that we're giving away are at www.brokersalliance.com/charitable giving. Now, I'd like to add, Ken, and I have this, and boy, I'm going to say to my producer now, remind me to do this and put this out there. I have a 1040 overlay by one of our carriers that is excellent. And what it does is it does exactly what Ken says. It really manages the tax issues to free up more money, because it is, as you said, net spendable income is the name of the game. How I arrive there could be taxes, could be my income. It doesn't matter what it is, but at the end of the day, I'm looking for what do I really take home after inflation, after taxes, my return, everything, expenses to the fund. I want to know what it all is.
Well, one of the ways I explain to my other peers in the industry of why they should learn the rules, tax rules and stuff like that is, it's sort of like, do you ever meet that kid that was playing Parcheesi and he comes up and he does a move and you say, you can't do that, and he pulls out the box top and there's the rules. Well, that actually, here's Parcheesi, right? If you get two pieces on the board, you block your opponent from coming through. And I did that one time, and they go, oh, you can't do that. And I said, yes, you can. Here are the rules right there. Aren't we abiding by the rules? That's the Internal Revenue Code's that thick. we learn the rules so we have the advantage in playing the game, and that is to reduce taxes and help people build wealth and give more to charity and their kids.
Well, Ken, I've known you over 20 years, and if you're going to liken the tax code to Parcheesi, okay, I'm just saying. Ken, I mean, that's the name of the game. Everybody in their area of forte, yours especially, being taxes, once you've learned the moves on the checkerboard, right, and you know all the there's so much nuance to the code, just like it is in product development and everything else. Once you start to learn how to marry these technologies together, these two schools of thought, I mean, it is pretty huge.
Well, and that's why I always came to you on the product side is you learn the nuances, and then you start thinking, well, how can I use this to the advantage of the client? And so that just is very appealing to me to be able to find the right product for the right situation. If you think of the real definition of what a broker is, it's taking the right product and marrying it to the right client. And there's so many different anomalies and nuances of different products and tax laws and stuff. That's why we have so much fun together, is we put these structures together and we work to help maximize the life insurance or annuity benefits and reduce the taxes. It's just
on this one area, this 1040 overlay that's produced by one of our carriers, it is so excellent. I've said 8 out of 10 times I can actually improve the client's actual income just by going through the 1040, and it'll walk you through it. It's very easy, and it's not a hard issue.
Yeah.
And it's really great. I'm going to put that out there. My producer, hopefully she'll remind me of that, www.brokersalliance.com/charitable giving, and I'm going to put that 1040 overlay out there and add it to everything we're going to put out there.
You know, and that might be something that our listeners might do too. If they have relationships with CPAs or tax attorneys or whatever, pull it out, learn it a little bit, and then, sit down and buy them lunch and say, hey, you might be interested in having a copy of this. Look what we can do with your expertise, your tax knowledge, to help improve your client's situation that happens to overlap in the area that I am, and look at the kind of team we can become with my product knowledge and your tax knowledge to benefit your clients. Make a friend out of a CPA, see if you can get some referrals out of it.
I have to say, though, I'm a little stunned, Ken, and a little let down by your fraternity of CPAs. They did not know. We've shown this 1040 to many, and they all get it, say, oh, yeah, you can do that. But they're not proactively doing it. See, they're just doing, when I give them the box at the end of the year and they do my taxes, right? But now we're showing a little bit something here that they say, oh, this is a proactive way. And by the way, this could actually help them increase their own billable hours.
Well, that's exactly right. And what you have to do is help the CPAs come up with tax concepts and make it easy for them to bring the topic up and talk to the client so they will refer. That's their bailiwick, is tax rules.
I love that. Listen, when we come back, I want to touch a little bit more on wealth replacement trusts for kids, because I really don't want to short my kids, right?
Right.
But I still want to give.
Right.
And I want to know, is there a way to do both? And with the wealth replacement trust, I can do that.
That's right.
You're listening to the Business Insurance Zone, the talk show that focuses on insurance in your practice. You can email me at the show's email address, thebiz@brokersalliance.com, or just call 1-800-290-7226, extension 147. Ken and I will be right back after a word from one of our premier providers of guaranteed term and guaranteed UL, Legal and General America.
Banner Life Insurance Company and its subsidiary, William Penn Life Insurance Company of New York, comprise the Legal and General America companies, part of the International Legal and General Group, one of the largest insurance companies in the world. Now, Legal and General America is one of the top-rated insurance companies in America, with one of the strongest financial balance sheet among its peers. Legal and General America is a major player in guaranteed term and guaranteed universal life, and consistently ranks among the best carriers in almost every product spreadsheet. Legal and General America's product line of guaranteed universal life endows at the maturity date, while most carriers' cash values just zero out. You know the reputation of Banner? Now know the value of LGA, Legal and General America. The power to protect, the power to preserve, the power to serve their policyholders. That's Legal and General America.
Well, welcome back to the Business Insurance Zone. I'm Steve Savant, your host, insurance columnist, financial color commentator, and interviewer extraordinaire. Remember, before moving forward with anything on our show, especially this week and last week's show, always talk with your CPA, your tax attorney, and of course, your broker-dealer compliance department. Remember, you can call us toll-free, 1-800-290-7226, extension 147 for any of your questions or quotes on life insurance annuities, DI, LTC, and group pension plans. It's not what I know, it's who I know. And that's why I have Ken on my show. Ken Davis, CLU, ChFC, CFP, and CPA. We're talking about today and all this week in our series on charitable giving. If you want this series, including our 2010 study of high net worth philanthropy and our own charitable giving package, and our new thing I'm adding to the show, our 1040 overlay by a carrier, just hop out on our site. I mean, we're giving away a ton here.
You betcha.
It's Christmas.
Indeed.
It's holidays. I feel benevolent, you know? I'm just giving everything we have away. Yeah. And that you can pick that all up on our landing page at www.brokersalliance.com/charitable giving. Well, Ken, I want to be a giver, not just a taker, right? So let's talk about this. You know, when we get back into this, we're always trying to look at different avenues, right, of charitable giving. Now, I wanted to touch this just because I wanted to make sure. I love my kids. I sometimes wonder if I love my grandkids more.
That happens frequently with grandparents.
So I want to get back, just touch real quick on wealth replacement trusts for kids, or in my little ad, I want to add on my little grandkids. So talk a little bit about that, and then we'll get into the rest of this section.
Well, we talked earlier about the fact that clients are afraid to give because they're afraid that their own personal net worth will go to the point where they don't have enough money to live on. And so we talked about, financial projections and stuff like that. One of the pieces of software that I've found very useful in that is Insmark, which has been in the insurance realm for years and years, has a Wealthy and Wise product. And what you can do is you can put the client's assets in, information, conservative assumptions, whatever, and you can start to show what happens to three different segments: the net worth of the client, okay, what's left to the kid, and if you're charitably inclined, what goes to the charity. And what's really interesting about this with wealth replacement trusts is if you layer where you choose to take assets to buy things, for instance, leave money in IRAs and qualified plans, don't touch it, don't pay any taxes on it, but use that ultimately as the gifting source for when you pass away, because it passes what? No income taxes to a charity and no estate taxes when you leave to the charity, right? So that's one of the most efficient places to make your gifting when you pass away.
And you could still get some income off this.
Well, and if you ever wanted it, you can always go grab it, but it's there when you eventually pass. If they have other assets, they can take those assets, gift it to something like an irrevocable life insurance trust, but we call it a wealth replacement trust, a WRT. And now the money's going into the WRT to buy life insurance. Very efficient with a second to die.
How easy is it to use this software from Insmark?
Well, it takes some time. You have to learn. And
got a good tutorial?
They have good training. They have some excellent samples. They're an excellent company. They do some very sophisticated stuff and do it very well. And
you recommend it?
Oh yeah, I think it's a great product, and I've used it for years. You might have to spend some time learning how to do it, or you can find some other people that are experienced in that you can either pay them by the hour or share some commissions or something like that, and help get that done. But boy, it makes the difference if suddenly the client understands they give all this money away, they're still going to be okay, and they're going to help the kids, and they're going to help the charity. I mean, the numbers, the color graphs at the end are really
Ken, I hate to say this, but I think you just helped out Insmark. This is a shameless plug for Insmark. Is Bob Ritter still the guy? I think
he is. I just went to a seminar about a year ago.
You're going to get a call from Steve Savant, and here's why. Because you just got a huge sign-off from one of our largest guests that we have on our show. Remember, this show pulled down in 2011. Over 400,000 clicks. So just a little plug back to see if Insmark wants to play. Thank you, Ken, for that.
Oh, you betcha.
But really, I love Insmark, and a lot of these really help us get in the game and quantify what we're talking about. Real numbers, real stats, and we can kind of move it around and see what model produces the best rate of return.
Well, one of the cool things about that is that it really plays to both the really highly technical CPA or attorney and to our clients. It takes all this very complex data, puts it in some nice color charts, and that's what it's all about. 70% of the population is highly visual, and they gather information, make decisions, and with 1 or 2 pages of these beautiful color charts, you can make your sale. And then you have all this voluminous amount of numbers crunching and all that stuff for the guys that want to get geeky on. You want to just test it and say, is this real, and all this stuff, and what are your assumptions? It's all there in one package, and so it takes care of both the analytical mind for the gatekeeper, fiduciary types of people, as well as helping get the point across to the client. And ultimately, what I get excited about is, isn't it cool that you can take care of the client, their kids, and have these huge potential gifts to charity when it's all said and done?
And all we're doing is maximizing the code and product leverage. I mean, really.
What we were talking about before is you can either give it to the Internal Revenue Service or give it to the charity, and you can still be taking care of yourself and the kid in the meantime.
Well, now let's talk about a little bit of charitable giving at the age of 70 and a half, because we run into the RMD issue, and a lot of people are actually, in my view, doing a little bit of financial heresy here, because they're actually taking their RMD, paying their tax on it, and then with a good heart, just not really smart, giving it to the charity.
Yeah, and let me share with you something that I kind of fell into. And this, I think, epitomizes what goes around comes around. I offered to help out with a charity on their finance committee and on their legacy planning, in other words, their planned giving committee. And I was just doing it because I like to do this kind of stuff, right? And did I think, sure, I could get some business at some point? Of course. But I didn't go in with a mercenary attitude, went in with a good heart, showed them that I was sincere about this thing, and I think that's really critical. You have to have a passion for this stuff, or your insincerity comes through. So anyway, we're doing this thing. I put on a presentation on utilizing IRAs for passing it to the kids and or charity, so I kind of mixed it up so I get a larger group coming to the seminar. Well, out of that seminar, somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, I've done this before. I bought a second-to-die policy, left it to a charity, and I'm being forced to take my RMDs, my required minimum distribution, for 70.5 this year, and they're forcing me to take 45 grand a year out, and I want to do something for the charity with a life policy. So he's thinking I'm just going to run him an illustration, which of course I did. And we talked it through and decided on a 10-pay, 40 grand a year, 400,000 over 10 years, and started with a base policy of $1 million. With the assumptions on the indexed life, it grew to about $1.7 million by the time their life expectancy hit. And here's the kicker. Here's the tax planning. There's one of these gaps we talk about between CPAs and insurance guys. I said, and he wanted to give to 5 charities. So I said, go out to your local community foundation, which happens to be the Arizona Community Foundation here, but these foundations are all over the United States in different areas, and they're local in nature, and give the money. Give 40 grand a year to the community foundation. They will then turn around and buy the life insurance policy on his life. And as he makes the gifts each year, guess what? He has taxation on the IRA coming out, but then he has, in his case, enough adjusted gross income to take the full $40,000 a year deduction. So they wash out the taxes. Okay? He was so excited about that because he'd done it before but hadn't done it in that way. And the cool thing about the Community Foundation is there's 5 charities, so we didn't have to go out and get 5 policies, go through 5 legal departments, because all these charities have a review committee to make sure that it's a legitimate.
So this acts as a central depository, or a kind of a liaison between these different charities.
It's an administrative support, and we're going to talk about the resources of Community Foundation, how they work later on in one of our other shows this week. But it was really cool, and it was good for me because I went and talked to them. I learned about it. I learned a whole bunch, and I got great support. They have their JDs, attorneys on staff, and accountants, and they have legal documents. It was really cool. So we got this all done. He was excited. I was excited. It was really lots of fun, and that's how. And see, he had already earmarked this, IRA for charity. So he didn't like the fact the government was forcing him to take it out and pay taxes on it.
Right.
So I showed him how to avoid paying the taxes and get it right back in the hands of the charity. And who knows, maybe at a much higher rate. What if instead of living the 20 years, they get in a car accident, God forbid, and they do it 15 years in? Well, there's a windfall to the charity, and because of their forethought and planning, what was a total tragedy had at least a silver lining of benefiting the world.
Well, when I'm looking at a tactic like this, I mean, there are people that are taking out, look at America. I mean, the block of people that are over 70 and a half right now that had qualified plans.
Yeah.
This is a natural market for our producers to really look at it in a totally different way, letting charity and benevolence actually drive the tax issues and, getting an income back out of this. I love it.
Right, and the thing is, you still have the IRA. And if you're taking that 3 or 4% RMD out and you're making 5, 6, 7, 10% on it, it can actually be growing, and it's still there to support the client. And if they ever get to the point they need that money, they can turn it off. And then the other thing, in this particular case, they just wanted to stay to the RMD, but if somebody really doesn't think they need the money, gosh, wouldn't it be cool if you did a lifetime single premium immediate annuity in the IRA and doubled or tripled that distribution rate, taking out more than you need to, okay, and then gifting it into charity. And normally we'd be reticent to do that because we're going to pay taxes on the IRA distribution. But now if we turn around and we do in fact get a deduction for it, we can wash out potentially those taxes.
Now the real key though for the deduction is a large enough adjusted gross income to play the game.
Well, that's right. And there are provisions that allow you to carry the deduction forward if you can't use it all in 1 year. But absolutely positively work with some projection software on your tax advisor, your attorney, your accountant.
Or InSmart.
Or you can do that. But I mean, I still think InSmart isn't going to test your AGI limits. That isn't going to be done. You're going to assume rates of return. So you really need a tax projection software or an advisor to help guide you, because there's other little nuances and rules. You don't want to get into trouble, but it's not a big deal. Just bring somebody in and you can get there.
Ken, day 3. We're heading for day 4. You can watch this show, tomorrow's show, Friday, on beautiful HD 1080p right on our home site. Just click on the red button at www.brokersalliance.com, right on our homepage, easy to find, and on all our social networks, YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course where I play a lot, Twitter. I'm Steve Savant. You've been listening to the Business Insurance Zone. That's the Buzz on the Biz for today. Get in the zone, the Business Insurance Zone.
The Business Insurance Zone, dedicated to financial professionals who use insurance in their practice.